What's up, Dragon Brew? Today we have a real treat for you. If you've been looking for some different decks to play, here's some lesser played decks. We're going to go over 3 of them that are already performing well that we could research and find out there on the internet. And then we're going to give you 2 that have performed very well on this very channel that I would recommend in case you didn't see them. Now, the first deck we have here is Gruul Delirium, and I think we've seen this deck before in different shapes, whatever. But it honestly is still pretty solid, and it's the closest thing we have to a budget list of the 3 we're going to talk about today. Now, the land, you do need a few rares here if you don't already own them. However, honestly, Starting Town is played in so many decks, especially if you like playing aggro decks. So there's no reason not to go ahead and craft these. It's going to be one of the safest cards you can probably craft, hell, in the last year probably. The Verges and the Temple of Abandon, you could play or cut. It's kind of your choice. If you have them, play them. If you don't, you could probably still get by without them. But of course, you are going to be playing Screaming Nemesis, which is a 4 of, so you do have to spend some mythics there, but I think that's the only mythic in this list. And then you're looking at a bunch of uncommons for the most part. Now, you do have a filler Scavenging Ooze that could be a variety of things. This is like the catch-all slot in here. You do have Piggy Bank, which is also an uncommon, and then you have Fear of Missing Out, which is the other rare in the deck. And then you've got Patchwork Beastie, Rubble Belt Maverick, Bushwhack, and Violent Urge. Now, the cool part here is this deck's actually fairly easy to play. It can get some very quick wins. You can end games on turn 4 pretty regularly, if you get real lucky on turn 3. But the fact that you don't need a lot of rares and mythics for this deck is really nice, right? What are we talking about? 5 rares, 4 mythics, and whether you have them or not on the lands. So this is a really good choice. And I marked it here. It is a 52% win percent deck. So it's not like it's going to blow the doors off, but if you are at least looking to get started, get a few wins, if you're willing to put in, your couple hours a day, you will still rank up over time if you learn to play this deck well. Now, the next deck we have up is Mono Blue Flash, and this was a 53% deck, which actually kind of surprised me because, again, it's a deck I haven't seen. I don't know if I've seen anybody play it against me at all, and I play a lot testing a bunch of decks every day. So it really was interesting to see that this was performing well, and it's another one that doesn't need a lot of rares and mythics. I believe we've got 4 Enduring Curiosity, 4 Entity Tracker, 3 Malcolm, and then the Storm Chaser's talent. However, among these, I would say that the Storm Chaser's talent's pretty safe. It shows up in a variety of decks right now. It's in the Is It decks with Vivi. It shows up in the Dimir, some of the Dimir decks. It's in the Esper Pixie decks. Regardless, isn't a lot of stuff. And then you're also seeing Enduring Curiosity show up in a lot of things as well that are playing a lot of creatures. Mostly the Dimir mid-rangey decks, but it does show up in a few places. So those are ones that you can craft pretty safely. And actually, I also realized I just missed the Proph's Eidetic Memory that's here. However, Proph's Eidetic Memory also showing up in a couple of different lists. Now, again, that is still more rare and mythic heavy than the previous list we talked about, so I'm not going to sit here and sell this to you as it's just a budget deck. But it does have cards that, for the most part, can show up on other lists. And it's another one that's fairly easy to play. It's got a little bit of defense with some counters in the form of Spell Pierce and Into the Flood Maw, but it also plays Sleep Magic, which is another way to lock down some problematic creatures, which is super nice. You have Fear of Isolation, so you can reuse things like your Storm Chaser's talent, or even the Room, if you want to, that lets you bounce something to your opponent's hand. So there's a lot going on with this list that's actually pretty good, and since there's so many enchantments, with you playing Entity Tracker, you get to draw extra cards, and with Malcolm, whenever you make contact, you also get to see extra cards. You're almost going to always get to your good stuff in this deck, and again, it's one that's not that difficult to build, and if you look at the lands, all you need is 23 islands. You're not trying to play a bunch of rare multi-lands in here either. So that's the other thing that makes decks like this a little bit easier to play, is you don't have to spend time trying to learn to sequence your turns and everything else to figure out what order you got to have, what colors and everything else. This at least cuts down some percentage of those potential mistakes if you're a newer player. It's funny, I just realized we kind of did the budget, the mid-level, and now the completely not budget deck. But it's good. We have options, right? This one is the Bant chocobos, and this was surprisingly high when I saw it. It was clocking in at 56%, which is really good, by the way. When we get to stuff that's 60+%, that's kind of exceptional. So 56% over several hundred games is actually really good. But this one's another one. It's super fun. It's not too difficult to play. You do have a full slate of very easy things here. You have a bunch of birds, which is really, I guess it's technically Bant birds, but chocobos and whatever are birds. But you have Healer's Hawk, you have some Guide Wing, the Shaj's chocobo, I think that's how you said that was, and then Mockingbird. So Mockingbird's the first rare we encounter in this list, but Mockingbird's super powerful here, being able to copy your small chocobos for one. You can also copy anything else fairly cheaply. And then you have Ambrosia Whiteheart, which is a good way to just bounce stuff or reuse things if you want, or just save a creature that may be targeted. Also really nice for that. Then this also can protect a creature and give something hexproof since it has flash. Also great to play after a sweeper. You have this thing is just making more chocobos, effectively. And then of course, traveling chocobo that lets you double trigger things. Choco, which is awesome, lets you actually get stuff during your attack step, which is super powerful. And then the best removal this deck can play in Bartz and Boko, let your stuff just ping off something else that's on the battlefield. If you do notice though, this deck doesn't have a lot of defense. It's all offense. It's basically all creatures just trying to put your head down, go forward, pump your creatures up, and plow through your opponent, right? And reasonably, apparently it works. I haven't seen this deck really much since the beginning of Final Fantasy being a thing, but I mean, it's got the right cards to be playable, and apparently it's putting up 56%. So if you are looking to play something different or you like birds, here's another way you can go. I will say the lands are going to be a little bit more prohibitive, so you're going to have a budget or already have crafted a bunch of these lands, because stuff like Cavern of Souls, Secluded Courtyard at least is an uncommon, so that's nice, but you're still going to need Starting Town, Fabled Passage, Botanical Sanctum, right? These are all rares. You're just no way around it because you're playing not just three colors, but you actually are playing a deck that needs all three of those colors all the time. And that's just a tough thing. And then we get into my two underplayed decks that were actually pretty good so far this season. Both of these are going to clock in at about 60%, which is fabulous. And we've seen a lot of people leaving comments that they were doing very well with these decks on the ladder, so that's also very good. Actually, at least this one. The other one I think we just put a video up on, so many people haven't seen that one yet. But this one actually being able to have all of these little creatures making extra tokens, getting the extra damage out of the sharpshooter, and the war leader's call. This deck often can end games on turn 3 and 4. Like, it's actually kind of crazy how consistent this can be. It is a little on the pricey side. I'm not going to lie to you. There are a lot of rares and mythics in here. I mean, I would say nearly the majority of the important pieces are, right? Voice of Victory, Stadium Headliner. We've got Delny. Sanguine Evangelist isn't key to the deck, so you can do without that. Anima Call, War Leader's Call, Sunborn, and a whole pile of lands, right? 12 lands. So this is a tougher one to build, but if you have it, the results are very good. It's really fun to play. It's even for being an aggressive deck, it's pretty versatile. And honestly, kind of surprised me at how good it was. And hopefully I'll remember to do so, but I'm going to try to remember to put tags to both of these videos if you want to see this deck and the last Boros Tokens deck played. So just putting it out there so y'all can actually get caught up. But this one, I believe the video for this, by the time y'all see this video, either came out the same day or yesterday. But this is another one that performs surprisingly well. It's another one that's not full of defense. It's just all offense, right? The only defense we have in this deck are 3 Abrade and 3 Defend the Rider. I think that's it. I don't think we're doing anything else defensively in here. But the goal here is really based around the raccoons, right? We have Wandertail Mentor to ramp up, but also gets bigger. We have Keen-Eyed Curator to deal with graveyards. You have Moira that just gives you a bunch of mana and life throughout the game, which is really good, so it helps against the aggro decks. It's a big 4 toughness creature. We have Sharpshooter, gives us a way to get rid of artifacts and enchantments while still being aggressive. And then we have Ouroboros to pump everything up. We've got Helena Helena to give stuff haste and also pump up your Ouroboros, or give haste to a Dragonhawk so you can just get damage and kill opponents that way. We have Vivian so we can keep finding creatures, and then even more haste stuff that's problematic with Screaming Nemesis. Again, though, this deck's going to have the issue that you're going to need a lot of those rare lands, right? No surprise here. Again, if you have them, go for it. If you need to craft them, go ahead, because they're actually still going to be useful in other builds, especially if you like playing these colors. I would say hold off necessarily. If you're going to craft them, do Cavern of Souls last. It's probably the least important of the lands, but the others you're definitely going to want if you build this. But surprisingly, this is another one that clocked in at 60%, even including the games with the junky versions that we were working on. So here's another way you can go if you want to play a theme deck that's a little bit different. If you don't like birds, maybe you want to play raccoons. But yeah, y'all let me know if you like these types of updates or if there's other type of decks you're looking for. And don't forget, you can come discuss decks anytime you want. Just there's a link to our Discord in the description. You can come by and we're always talking about standard decks and actually a lot of different formats if you just want to participate. But otherwise, become a member down below. You can dictate what we show on the videos. Otherwise, just keep watching videos, watch them all the way through because it always helps and it's always free. Hope y'all like this. Let me know in the comments. But that's all I have you for now. We'll see you next time.